Changing sides and a possible changing skyline in Indianapolis this week. The balance of the city-county council is tilting a little further to the right after one councilor changes parties. We're sitting down with Jose Evans to talk about his decision. Then changes coming to a key part of downtown Indianapolis. The mayor is calling for it, plus our political insiders debate. It's all coming up on this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to this edition of Indianapolis This Week. I'm Jenna Coy. The Democratic control of the city-county council became a little more interesting this week after losing one member. Councilor Jose Evans jumped ship and joined the Republicans. That reduces the Democratic majority from 16 to 13 to just 15 to 14. Evans says he admires Republican leadership and is tired of what he calls Democratic infighting and lack of ideas. And he believes he can win re-election in his Pike Township district.
I was able to win and make history not because of Democratic support, but because I was able to reach out to Republicans who decided to support me and believe that I was the best candidate for the position. And in 2011, I was reelected overwhelmingly by both Democrats and Republicans, again to represent District 1.
Well, joining us now is the man who made the jump, Councilor Jose Evans. Evans, who is now a Republican, represents District 1. In 2007, Evans became the first Democrat to represent the 1st District, a once solidly Republican area in Pike Township. Thank you so much for joining us. You said you've been talking about this switch for years.
Correct.
So why now?
Well, right now, this decision wasn't made overnight. I thought about it a long time, prayed about it, talked to all of my advisors, my wife, and it was pretty much the okay from them. The eye-opening experience was basically the Rebuild Indy project. I voted against that, and I voted against it because I was playing politics. But after realizing that 7 people in my district had died between 62nd and Georgetown to St. First Street, I really fought to try to get some sidewalks, some lights, and I'm glad to say that in 2013, the city of Indianapolis will be building the new sidewalks and lights in my district, and that's coming from the Rebuild Indy Fund. So it just goes to show you that, I became a politician to work for the people and help the people, and playing politics, I could have been detrimental to my constituents. So it was an eye-opener experience for me.
Was that Rebuild Indy project kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for you?
It was the beginning of it. Yes, it was. That was the part where I realized that I really need to stop playing politics, really look at the issues, and really be more open to what's really going on. And the Republican Party, they've done an excellent job. Sidewalks, the bike lanes, jobs, economic development, and that's why I want to be a politician, to be able to help the city of Indianapolis.
Now, some people might say, well, you're playing politics the other way, maybe try and join the winning team because there's a Republican mayor, there's a Republican governor. How would you respond to that?
Well, that's their philosophy. I've been involved in the Democratic Party since 1996. I've been on losing teams and winning teams, and right now, if they want to say, I'm jumping ships to be on the winning team, well, I'm a winner. I won. So it's not about who's winning, who's losing. It's about what's right for the constituents. And for me, being a voice, making sure that my constituents are being represented, making sure not only just my constituents, but countywide, it was the right choice at the right time.
But you've been a Democrat for all these years.
Correct. What
made you want to become a Democrat, and how are you different from that now?
Well, in college, I've always had Republican or conservative feelings or principles. Smaller government, my opposition to abortion, and as self-reliant, supporting small businesses, especially when it comes to the African American and Hispanic community. But it was an opportunity at that time in college that the Democratic Party extended to me. I was young, and I needed a job, and my background was in politics, so it was an opportunity, working for then Lieutenant Governor, working for then Center Township Trustee Julia Carson, and those two outstanding politicians really made me believe that maybe the Democratic Party was for me, and I rode with it, and they won, and I became involved, and but all in all, throughout the years, I've always had my conservative leanings, and I just had enough of dealing dealing with Democratic politics.
But now that you're on the Republican side, is it safe to say, though, that you and the mayor differ when it comes to charter schools?
Well, that's correct. I mean, it's not that we differ from charter schools. We both have the exact same philosophy, and that's making sure that every student in Indianapolis has the best opportunity for education. Charter schools, and I've said this publicly, I'm not for charters, I'm not against charters. It's just, I just want to make sure that every student has the opportunity to graduate. And there are some charter schools that are really taking advantage of the system, and that's where I come in. Just making sure that that the Republicans and the mayor understands here are the loopholes, here are the problems that charter schools have in Marion County, and these are the suggestions and the opportunities how we can fix it. So, you know, as a Democrat, giving them the information and the answers to those questions, I was pretty much, the doors were closed. But now that I'm on that part, but now I'm on the right party, the right side, you know, they're more apt to listen. They're taking more of my suggestions into practice, and all in all, the goal is students and all students. So I think things will change.
So the mayor, though, has been pretty clear that he wants to expand charter schools.
Correct.
Are you going to fight him on that?
Well, I'm not going to fight him on that because it's going to happen. It's going to happen regardless, whether it's me or the hundreds of people or the thousands of people that have been helping me, you know, try to do a moratorium on charter schools. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. So now that I realize there's nothing I can do about it, what's the next step? And the next step is, okay, if it's going to happen, then let's hear the issues and hear the problems, and hear my suggestions of fixing it. So if I can save, you know, 10 kids or 100 kids, then that's the goal, making sure that all kids can graduate from high school. Are
you still going to have allies now on the Democratic side when you're trying to get things passed and compromises, or are they now your enemies because you've left them?
Well, you know, I've talked to Maggie, the president, Maggie Lewis, and her and I have had a discussion, and the door's always open. And the people who know me know that I stand for my beliefs, and that I'm always looking after the people. And if it's an issue where I can help them, then my door is open. And if there's an issue that they can help me, then their door is open. So I think, you know, there are some Democrats that are very upset that I made the switch. But if you know me and you know my philosophy, I'm about the people. And right now, I believe that in order for me to make a change, being a Republican is the best way to do it.
All right, lastly, the mayor gave his State of the City address this week. As a Republican now, your first time to voice an opinion on it from that side. What's your reaction? Well,
I mean, I think the mayor did a great job. I see the results. I see, you know, his vision for the city. And, you know, I've always understood why he was doing the things he did, but being on the other side, it was, you know, that was our job to put a little salt in the game, and I bought into that for a while. But as I stated before, really focusing on my district really opened my eyes. Talking to the parents who've lost their daughter or their child, and then realizing that the answer was new lights, new streets, you know, sidewalks, and it's going to happen, and that's because of the Rebuild Indy, which I voted against. It just made me realize that, you know, I need to really pay attention and really understand what's really going on in the city of Indianapolis.
So more action, less politic playing.
Exactly,
all right.
Definitely.
Councilor Evans, thank you so much for joining us. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, there were a lot of goals set by the mayor in his State of the City address. After the break, our political insiders will weigh in on what they think the mayor will be able to accomplish. Ballard is setting a lot of new goals for the city of Indianapolis. He outlined his goals in this week's State of the City address. Among the top of those goals, the redevelopment of a critical area of downtown Indianapolis. The vacant Market Square Arena site could be getting new life. The site across from the City County building in City Market could become what a spokesman for the mayor calls, quote, a bold project. Two previous building efforts fell through. Builders will have until late April to come up with plans for a mixed-use development to include stores and housing. The city will then select from the proposals. Market Square Arena was torn down 12 years ago. Since then, the site has been used for parking. Take a look at what the mayor had to say about the potential development.
After nearly 12 years and 2 false starts, the time is right, and the economy is ready for the city to take another serious shot at redeveloping the former site of Market Square Arena. So Monday, my administration will go to the marketplace, seeking plans and proposals to turn the north lot of the former MSA site into something better than surface parking. We know there is a lot of interest. We've already been approached with some interesting ideas. But make no mistake, I want to be bold. It has been nearly 36 years since Elvis left the building.
Yes, it has. And joining us now are our political insiders, including the newest member of our team. Jennifer Hallowell joins us. Jennifer is a Republican. She is the president of Hallowell Consulting these days. She has a vast political background, serving as the regional campaign manager for the McCain-Palin campaign in 2008. Before that, she was the New Hampshire executive director of the Rudy Giuliani Presidential Committee, ran Mayor Ballard's campaign, and also served as the executive director of the Indiana Republican Party. We're very happy to have you joining us. Thank you.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome. So why is Abdul here? Did he answer that question today?
Scheduling
He
conflict.
just likes to hang around. He offer his opinions.
You missed me.
Yes, I did.
So should we let Jennifer have the first question?
I think so.
All right. So
Absolutely.
To welcome, we'll make it easy. What was your response to the mayor's State of the City?
Well, of course, then first I do want to say that I did run the mayor's campaign, so that may give me somewhat of a bias, but I think that the mayor did an outstanding job outlining his plan for progress for the next year, and also talking about some of the things that have brought us here. You know, the mayor has staked out bold visions, and some of the development that he talked about, and also his education initiatives are just in line with that.
Laura, what did you think about his plan for the Market Square Arena site?
Well, I thought it was interesting that that was a cornerstone of his speech today, and I had an opportunity to watch it on the IndyChannel.com. That's a great way to stay in tune with what's going on. But I thought it was an interesting cornerstone of his speech.
Why?
Well, I think it's because it's not something that we've heard him talk about before in terms of development, and I think he really got his feet wet with Cityway and that project that he did, and so I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it gets down the line, especially because I was actually working at the city when Market Square Arena was torn down and the economy did tank, and there were a number of different things that happened. So when he said, "I will be bold," I think that is a lot of folks are going to be watching that.
Abdul, what would it take for a plan to be viable? Because we've seen two plans haven't worked out.
I think as the economy gets better, and I think the economy has sort of been the big reason why nothing has ever been able to get off the ground because of the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, the credit markets just falling through the floor. I think as this economy starts to turn around, you'll see some more sort of bold ideas. So one thing I thought that was really interesting in the mayor's speech was he talked about his trip up to Detroit for the National Auto Show. We talked about sort of flex fuel vehicles and the like. Detroit is being physically repossessed by the state of Michigan because they're in such bad, horrible financial shape. And so when the mayor today, or when he talked about this week, the development, jobs, crime being down, Indianapolis is in a lot better shape than a lot of places in this country right now.
I thought the conversation on reducing our dependence on foreign oil was really an interesting transition for a mayor of a large city to make. I completely agree with him that we do need to bring our troops home, absolutely. And kudos to him for making that a part of his speech. But it did make me wonder, what is he thinking about running for in maybe 2 years or 6 years or somewhere down the road?
Somebody's been reading a gossip column.
Yeah, well, I wasn't reading the cheat sheet either. I mean, I really kind of put my pen down and listened, because that's really not the forum where a mayor takes off talking about global issues. And so that's a nice way, if he wants to dip his toe into a federal race, that may be where he's doing it.
Jennifer?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, first of all, the mayor was a Marine for 23 years, and so it is an issue that's, very personal to him. But as he's talked about it, it's about saving money. I mean, he's continued to spend time finding ways that we can be more efficient with taxpayer dollars, and making this switch to electric vehicles will save the city a lot of money. And as for his political aspirations, I think he has already stated that he's planning to seek a third term.
All right, so something else that could help the environment, some people say, is a mass transit system. The mayor mentioned that. Again, where do we see that going?
The big thing is going to be the Indiana State Senate. That's going to be the big push right now. There are a number of Marion County Republican lawmakers that just are not sold on mass transit. And the one thing I did think, though, when the mayor in his address I thought was interesting, he talked about connectivity, connecting neighborhoods across Indiana, and also making sure that when young people and young professionals come to Indianapolis, they can live in any part of the city and use mass transit to get to work. That I thought was interesting, because one of the big hesitancies all those Republican lawmakers have had is, if I live in Franklin or Perry Township, am I going to get a bus line or is it just going to take me as long to use the buses as drive to work? I may as well just drive to work. So I think you sort of see, the mayor laying some of the groundwork for that fight that's come to the legislature in the coming weeks.
One of the things I think that Mayor Ballard did in his speech today, which he did very well, and I will give him that, is he really made a very bipartisan plea for the connectivity, as Abdul said, of the urban neighborhoods. And as someone who lives in an urban neighborhood, my neighborhood was mentioned twice. I was very excited.
I feel included then.
I felt really happy. Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I figured that was Robert Vane's way of, giving me a little shout out. But as someone who lives in an urban neighborhood, the schools are incredibly important to us. Connectivity is important. Parks are important. So that is something I think that he does that speaks very well across party lines. And so, yeah, mass transit, we absolutely need it. And if we don't, shame on us.
All right, then real quickly, Jennifer, were you impressed then as a whole what the mayor was able to accomplish, or was there something missing that you were hoping he would have added?
No. I think, like I said, I think he touched on all the important issues, and he's really, part of the reason he was reelected is because he's very focused on making progress for the city, and it's not a political or partisan thing. It's progress in every neighborhood throughout the city, including Laura's. And, and that's public safety, that's education, it's development, neighborhood strengthening, all of these things, and that's what he's focused on, and I think that's just, what he outlined and what we'll see more of.
All right, well, your first panel is out of the way, but we want you to stay because we have a lot more to talk about after the break. Can lawmakers in Washington reach a deal on the federal budget? Both of Indiana's senators are optimistic with recent meetings this week. Hear from both of them as we continue our conversation with our political insiders. Welcome back. Can breaking bread together lead to breaking the logjam over spending cuts and the federal budget? That's the apparent sentiment in Washington. This week, President Obama had lunch with top budget writers in the House. It follows a dinner meeting with a group of Republican senators, including Indiana's Dan Coats. RTV6 spoke with both Senator Coats and Indiana Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly for their takes on what these meetings could mean for finding a deal.
I was concerned when I went in that this would just be a lecture from the president on why his way was the best way. I've been on the floor of the Senate virtually every day being critical of the president's policies and really not stepping up to the long-term solution for a real problem fiscally for the United States. Yes, it didn't turn out that way at all. So I was pleased. The president listened. We were able to really pour out directly to him, eyeball to eyeball, just how we felt.
I think they're a good thing. The more we talk, the more opportunity there is for people to say, look, on this particular issue, I can give a little. I need some help over on this issue. And by working together, by talking, we can create a space where an agreement can get put in place that reduces the deficit, that puts us on a long-term trajectory for sensible fiscal policy. And so the more we can do this, the better off we'll be.
All right, so you heard from both sides. Laura, typical responses?
Well, I couldn't help but think as I'm watching this that the folks in Washington could probably take a page out of the Indianapolis playbook. Before Mayor Ballard gave his speech today, the Council Democrats put out a statement about the bipartisan accomplishments that they've had working in conjunction with Mayor Ballard's administration, like the Complete Streets Ordinance, the smoking ban. And I think for folks who live here in Indianapolis and you're watching the discussions and everything going on in Washington, you think, why can't we just come together and work this out? So that's just my take on it. So,
Abdul,
I see my time, Abdul.
Wanting to say something.
Well, actually, Senator Coates' comments are the ones actually most telling. Because Senator Coates has been very critical of the president's performance throughout this entire budgetary crisis. For him to actually come out and publicly say, hey, you know what, I think things are actually starting to turn around, we're on a good foot, is actually a very positive sign. I also think the president didn't have any choice, since all those predilections of gloom and doom, and the sky's falling after budget sequester, and airplanes are going to fall out of the sky, and terrorists will take over airplanes, there'll be no TSA agents. It all didn't come true. It's like, well, maybe we ought to put that rhetoric aside and let's sit down and let's all act like grown-ups for a change.
You forgot White House tours.
Yeah.
White House tours ending.
I was going to say, we certainly hope so. Senate Democrats have failed to pass budget for a long time now, and so now is the time, hopefully, that we can make some progress.
Do you think we're close?
I don't know.
Laura?
We don't have a crystal ball, but I think under President Obama's leadership, we're going to do just fine.
If I knew that, I'd win the lottery and I'd share it all with you all. We wouldn't have to go to court and fight over it.
I know you'd share it with me.
All right. So speaking of close, real quickly, are we close to the governor's proposed tax cut? We heard that a long time ago. Haven't heard about it since.
Wait till April. That's when the revenue forecast will come out, and that's when we'll have a much better idea. I don't think we'll get the whole thing. I think you may get part of it, and April will be the telling sign.
All right. Well, thank all three of you for joining us. Abdul, Laura, Jennifer. Great to have you. And you can stay up to date on political news anytime by following our insiders, Laura, Jennifer, Kip, and Abdul, on our Capitol Watch blog. You can find the link on our webpage, theindychannel.com. Indianapolis This Week continues after the break. A new leader is in place with one of the largest school districts in Indiana, and we were the first to sit down with interim superintendent Peggy Hinckley this week as she steps into her new role.
You know, I think you have to be realistic about what a person can do in 3 or 4 months, and if I can deal with budget cuts, get staffing in place, do all the things we need to do, and most importantly, that when we start school in August, that we've done the right thing for children, because that's really where our focus needs to be, and that's where I will be. We're going to look hard at our resources, because, you know, if principals don't have enough people to work with children, but we have a lot of people here, maybe we need to look at whether some of those resources need to be really repositioned in the buildings. It isn't that people aren't doing their work. It's just a question of whether we need as many people. Is there more efficient? I think a lot of it is an issue of efficiency, and is there a better way to streamline how we do what we do? I look at this very simply. Charter schools are public schools, so I'm not going to waste any of my time arguing about whether they should be expanded or whether we should have them. They're in the law. Our answer to charter schools in the Indianapolis Public Schools has to be higher levels of achievement in all of our schools so that parents don't feel like they need to look for an alternative. I believe that clearly the Indianapolis community has lost confidence in our ability to turn these schools around, and we've got to do better. I don't know what the school commissioners are thinking about, but I'm just not interested in the permanent role. You know, I don't know that I have another 10 or 12 years left in me to turn around another district, to be honest with you.
Well, that's it for this edition of Indianapolis This Week. I'm Jenna Coy. Thanks for joining us.